Have you ever stopped praying? Not because you stopped believing, but because you started wondering if anyone was listening. That's the part almost nobody talks about. Not the prayer itself, but the terrifying silence that comes after. Because sometimes God answers immediately, sometimes he answers years later, and sometimes he says nothing at all, or at least that's what it feels like. But what if silence isn't always absence? What if you've been looking for the wrong evidence? Most people expect prayer to work like a text message. You send it, you wait, you expect a reply. When nothing happens, you assume heaven ignored you. But that's not how relationships work, and it's certainly not how God works. The problem isn't always unanswered prayer. Sometimes it's misunderstood communication. We ask for visible miracles while ignoring invisible ones. We look for open doors while missing the fact that our own heart has already started changing. Here's the uncomfortable truth. If God only answered prayers exactly the way we wanted, we wouldn't actually be following God. We'd be following our own expectations. Prayer was never designed to control God. It was designed to transform us. And transformation is rarely loud. Most of the time, it feels painfully ordinary, which is exactly why so many people miss it. So how do you know God has actually heard your prayer? The first sign is that you experience a peace that doesn't make sense. Your circumstances haven't changed. The bills are still there. The uncertainty is still there. The problem hasn't disappeared. Yet somehow, your heart is no longer controlled by panic. The Bible describes this as a peace that surpasses all understanding. Peace isn't always the reward after the answer. Sometimes, peace is the answer. The second sign is that certain doors remain closed. At first, it feels like rejection. You wonder why God isn't giving you what you've been asking for. But later, you often realize those closed doors protected you from pain you couldn't see. Not every delay is denial. Not every no is punishment. Sometimes, it's divine protection. The third sign is that your desires begin to change. You prayed for a certain relationship, a certain opportunity, a certain outcome. But over time, your obsession begins to fade. Your anger softens. Your need to control everything slowly disappears. God doesn't always change your situation first. Sometimes, he changes your heart before he changes your life. And that may be the greater miracle. The fourth sign is that you become the answer to someone else's prayer. You prayed for strength. Now someone else needs your encouragement. You prayed for comfort. Now you're comforting another person. God often answers our prayers by allowing us to become part of his answer for someone else, because blessings were never meant to stop with us. They were meant to flow through us. And finally, the fifth sign is that you keep praying, even when you don't see immediate results. Think about that. Why would you continue talking to God unless something deep inside you still believed he was listening? Faith isn't pretending to have all the answers. Faith is choosing to continue the conversation, even in the silence. Here's the paradox. If God answered every prayer instantly, would you still trust him, or would you simply trust predictable results? Maybe the greatest purpose of prayer isn't changing God's mind. Maybe it's allowing God to change yours.